In the heart of America, amid its bustling cities and varied social classes, Swami Vivekananda found himself both inspired and troubled. As he observed the contrasts between the respect and opportunities afforded to women in the West and the dire conditions faced by women in his homeland, his reflections led to a profound sense of urgency and purpose. Welcome back to our series on Swami Vivekananda's life and legacy. In today's episode, we continue our exploration of his American journey, focusing on his deep admiration for American women and his reflections on the social disparities between the East and West, from heartfelt letters expressing gratitude to his insightful critiques of both American and Indian societies. We'll uncover how Vivekananda's experiences in America shaped his vision for social reform in India and his efforts to bridge cultural divides. Join us as we delve into the second part of Chapter 7 and understand the profound impact of his American sojourn. Perhaps his admiration reached its highest pitch in a letter to the Maharaja of Khatri, which he wrote in 1894, American Women. 100 lives would not be sufficient to pay my deep debt of gratitude to you. Last year I came to this country in summer, a wandering preacher of a far distant country, without name, fame, wealth, or learning to recommend me, friendless, helpless, almost in a state of destitution, and American women befriended me, gave me shelter and food, took me to their homes and treated me as their own son, their own brother. They stood as my friends even when their own priests were trying to persuade them to give up the dangerous heathen. Even when, day after day, their best friends had told them not to stand by this unknown foreigner, maybe of dangerous character. But they are better judges of character and soul, for it is the pure mirror that catches the reflection. And how many beautiful homes I have seen, how many mothers whose purity of character, whose unselfish love for their children are beyond expression, how many daughters and pure maidens, pure as the icicle on Diana's temple, and withal much culture, education and spirituality in the highest sense. Is America, then, only full of wingless angels in the shape of women? There are good and bad everywhere, true, but a nation is not to be judged by its weaklings, called the wicked, for they are only the weeds which lag behind, but by the good, the noble and the pure, who indicate the national life current to be flowing clear and vigorous. And how bitter the Swami felt when he remembered the sad plight of the women of India. He particularly recalled the tragic circumstances under which one of his own sisters had committed suicide. He often thought that the misery of India was largely due to the ill treatment the Hindus meted out to their womenfolk. Part of the money earned by his lectures was sent to a foundation for Hindu widows at Baranagar. He also conceived the idea of sending to India women teachers from the West for the intellectual regeneration of Hindu women. Swami Vivekananda showed great respect for the fundamentals of American culture. He studied the country's economic policy, industrial organizations, public instruction, and its museums and art galleries, and wrote to India enthusiastically about them. He praised highly the progress of science, hygiene institutions, and social welfare work. He realized that such noble concepts as the divinity of the soul and the brotherhood of men were mere academic theories in present day. India, whereas America showed how to apply them in life. He felt indignant when he compared the generosity and liberality of the wealthy men of America in the cause of social service with the apathy of the Indians as far as their own people were concerned. No religion on earth, he wrote angrily, preaches the dignity of humanity in such a lofty strain as Hinduism, and no religion on earth treads upon the necks of the poor and the low in such a fashion as Hinduism. Religion is not at fault, but it is the Pharisees and Sadducees. How poignant must have been his feelings when he remembered the iniquities of the caste system. India's doom was sealed, he wrote, the very day they invented the word mlechcha and stopped from communion with others. When he saw in New York a millionaire woman sitting side by side in a tram car with a negress with a wash basket on her lap, he was impressed with the democratic spirit of the Americans. He wanted in India an organization that will teach the Hindus mutual help and appreciation after the pattern of Western democracies. Incessantly, he wrote to his Indian devotees about the regeneration of the masses. In a letter dated 1894, he said, "Let each one of us pray day and night for the downtrodden millions in India who are held fast by poverty, priestcraft, and tyranny. Pray day and night for them. I care more to preach religion to them than to the high and the rich. I am no metaphysician, no philosopher, nay, no saint. But I am poor. I love the poor. Who feels in India for the 300 millions of men and women sunken forever in poverty and ignorance? Where is the way out? Who feels for them? Let these people be your God. Think of them, work for them, pray for them incessantly. The Lord will show you the way. Him I call a Mahatma, a noble soul, whose heart bleeds for the poor. Otherwise he is a Duratma, a wicked soul. So long as the millions live in hunger and ignorance, I hold every man a traitor who, having been educated at their expense, pays not the least heed to them. We are poor, my brothers, we are nobodies, but such have always been the instruments of the Most High." Never did he forget, in the midst of the comforts and luxuries of America, even when he was borne on the wings of triumph from one city to another, the cause of the Indian masses, whose miseries he had witnessed while wandering as an unknown monk from the Himalayas to Cape Comorin. The prosperity of the new continent only stirred up in his soul deeper commiseration for his own people. He saw with his own eyes what human efforts, intelligence, and earnestness could accomplish to banish from society poverty, superstition, squalor, disease, and other handicaps of human well-being. On August 20th, 1893, he wrote to instill courage into the depressed hearts of his devotees in India. "Gird up your loins, my boys. I am called by the Lord for this. The hope lies in you, in the meek, the lowly, but the faithful. Feel for the miserable and look up for help. It shall come. I have traveled 12 years with this load in my heart and this idea in my head. I've gone from door to door of the so-called rich and great. With a bleeding heart I have crossed half the world to this strange land seeking help. The Lord is great. I know He will help me. I may perish of cold and hunger in this land, but I bequeath to you young men this sympathy, this struggle for the poor, the ignorant, the oppressed. Go down on your faces before Him and make a great sacrifice, the sacrifice of the whole life for them, for whom He comes from time to time, whom He loves above all, the poor, the lowly, the oppressed. Vow then to devote your whole lives to the cause of these 300 millions, going down and down every day. Glory unto the Lord. We will succeed. Hundreds will fall in the struggle. Hundreds will be ready to take it up. Faith, sympathy, fiery faith, and fiery sympathy. Life is nothing, death is nothing, hunger nothing, cold nothing. Glory unto the Lord. March on, the Lord is our general. Do not look back to see who falls forward, onward. Swami Vivekananda was thoroughly convinced by his intimate knowledge of the Indian people that the life current of the nation, far from being extinct, was only submerged under the dead weight of ignorance and poverty. India still produced great saints whose message of the Spirit was sorely needed by the Western world. But the precious jewels of spirituality discovered by them were hidden in the absence of a jewel box in a heap of filth. The West had created the jewel box in the form of a healthy society, but it did not have the jewels. Further, it took him no long time to understand that a materialistic culture contained within it the seeds of its own destruction. Again and again he warned the West of its impending danger. The bright glow on the western horizon might not be the harbinger of a new dawn, it might very well be the red flames of a huge funeral pyre. The Western world was caught in the maze of its incessant activity, interminable movement without any goal. The hankering for material comforts without a higher spiritual goal and a feeling of universal sympathy might flare up among the nations of the West into jealousy and hatred, which in the end would bring about their own destruction. Swami Vivekananda was a lover of humanity, Man is the highest manifestation of God, and this God was being crucified in different ways in the East and the West. Thus he had a double mission to perform in America. He wanted to obtain from the Americans money, scientific knowledge, and technical help for the regeneration of the Indian masses, and, in turn, to give to the Americans the knowledge of the eternal spirit, to endow their material progress with significance. No false pride could prevent him from learning from America the many features of her social superiority. He also exhorted the Americans not to allow racial arrogance to prevent them from accepting the gift of spirituality from India. Through this policy of acceptance and mutual respect, he dreamt of creating a healthy human society for the ultimate welfare of man's body and soul. The year following the Parliament of Religions, the Swami devoted to addressing meetings in the vast area spreading from the Mississippi to the Atlantic. In Detroit, he spent 6 weeks, first as a guest of Mrs. John Bagley, widow of the former governor of Michigan, and then of Thomas W. Palmer, president of the World's Fair Commission. Formerly a United States Senator and American minister to Spain, Mrs. Bagley spoke of the Swami's presence at her house as a continual benediction. It was in Detroit that Miss Greenstadell first heard him speak. She later became, under the name of Sister Christine, one of the most devoted disciples of the Swami and a collaborator of Sister Nivedita in her work in Kolkata for the educational advancement of Indian women. In the next episode, we shift our focus to a pivotal moment in Swami Vivekananda's journey. As he transitions from Detroit to New York, we'll delve into his experiences at the Humane Conference in Greenacre, his humorous observations, and his evolving vision for his work in America. Stay tuned as we uncover how Vivekananda's quest for a more meaningful impact led him to embrace simplicity and focus on spiritual transformation. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.